For David and Debbie's Efriam Friedman.
My earliest memories of Mama and Papa, Alain Mashalom, are from going to their house here in Scranton for Yontif, particularly Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot. There's always something very special about spending Yontif here in Scranton. I can still remember Uncle Bert's duchening, and for many years I remember thinking that someone should really speak to the Baal Tokeya and explain to him that he should wait until after the tzibur finished Shemona Esrei to blow the shofar. But the strongest and most special memories are, of course, spending Yom Tovim with Mama and Papa and their home next door. It was always a long drive and a bit of a schlep. But once we got inside, there was a special warmth and feeling of that this was the way it was supposed to be. I have so many memories of Mom and Papa's home, from the small, warm den where we would look at old pictures and play games, to the dining room, which partially served as an office and converted into the most comfortable sukkah in the world, to the living room with the small round table with the shelves on the sides where Mama would keep her mints and other candies that we would always find, and the break front where she kept her dishes in silver, which always had pictures stuck into the seams, and more candies and mints. And then, of course, the scariest piece of wood, something, hanging on the wall above the couch. And who could forget the huge basement cellar? I think I was bar mitzvah before I had the guts to go down there and get something from the fridge. And of course, the kitchen. When we would walk into the house from the side door, Mom would always be in the kitchen preparing her delicious foods, especially her cakes and pies, and her special sweet and sour pickled tongue. She would always offer us something good to eat, and always implore us to eat more carrots so our eyes would be healthy, and to sit down while eating so we wouldn't get fat legs. And I remember that big TV in the kitchen, which I'm fairly certain was never used except when we came by. Mom was always dressed to perfection, either in a dress or more often a suit, and her curly white hair never seemed to move or get longer or shorter. Nothing seemed to give Mama and Papa greater joy and nachas than their grandchildren, and eventually great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren. We loved to play Rummy Cup together, and Mama always loved to hear about what we were learning in school. Before we went to sleep at night, she would read us stories, which I learned later in life were actually stories from Tanakh, including some of the wisdoms of Shlomo HaMelech, story of David and Goliath, and even the story of Shimshon. Her home was always a home full of love and warmth, and of course Torah, as if out of a storybook of its own. Later on, instead of going to Scranton, we would visit Mom and Papa in Miami Beach. They tried a few different apartment buildings and finally settled on Tower 41, where we spent many wonderful winter vacations. We always looked forward to those trips. We would cram in together in that small apartment, but we loved every minute of it. There was nothing more important to Mama than her family. As if we needed a reminder, we would always know when our birthdays were close, because we could always count on a birthday card and a check arriving in the mail about a week or so before our actual birthdays. She never forgot. And as we all got married and had our own children, the cards never stopped coming on time. She knew every one of our birthdays and our children's birthdays. And before long, had she continued sending checks to every one of her grandchildren and great-grandchildren, we would have, Baruch Hashem, bankrupted her in a few years. But the cards kept coming on birthdays and anniversaries, and there was always at least a $10 check inside. As Mama grew older and got sick, we didn't get to see her as often. But when we did, even when she couldn't tell us, we knew how happy she was and how proud she was. No matter how she was feeling or what she was dealing with, There was always a smile on her face when she saw her great-grandchildren, especially the youngest ones. When I was in yeshiva in Israel, I remember once getting a ride from yeshiva to Yerushalayim from Rabbi Malin Galinsky, alav shalom, who was at the time the dean of the overseas program at Shaladim. We talked for a few minutes in the car about my family. When he realized that I came from the Finks in Scranton, he immediately turned to me and explained to me that I come from a very special and unique family in the history and legacy of Orthodox Judaism in America. Everyone knew someone or was related to someone from the extended Fink family in Scranton. Finally, even in Mama's final days, she was able to be the source of a phenomenal lesson to me and my siblings and cousins. The kibbutz avayim that we've witnessed over the last few years from Mama's children, children-in-law, has been nothing short of amazing. I want to take the opportunity to acknowledge and thank my parents and my aunts and uncles for teaching me by example and being true role models of this mitzvah in so many ways. And of course, to thank Tina for all her amazing help and care and compassion for Mama over these last few years. Mama and Papa, as the matriarch and patriarch of our family, leave behind, Baruch Hashem, too many children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren to count. And it's in theirs close, and because of their love, their chinuch of our parents, that we continue to grow. May they both continue to be a Melech Yisrael for us and all Chai Yisrael.